everybody in the chat. Hello, moderators. Hello, Nick at Night, Night Owls. We are live. I'm going to give it a couple minutes for people to come on in. Let me know if you guys can see me, if you guys can hear me. And yes, please be respectful, everyone. Everyone needs to be respectful. I see you guys coming on in. Can you see? You can't see me on there? Okay. I don't know. Other people seem to see. Just go to my regular. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. All right. So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna get on in. So today we have R. Kelly's. He said he's not the manager, but he was introduced on the news and all the media outlets as his manager. But he is his. You said you're his advisor
and consultant, exactly.
You're his current advisor and consultant. So when R. Kelly got locked up, there was you talking to the press, and there was Steve Greenberg, who was also talking to the press on R. Kelly's behalf. You are kind of like one of the closest people to him. So I thought that it would be fit to interview you, since we have a lot going on. A lot of people have a lot of questions. They want to know a lot. And we're just going to get right into it. So first, I'm going to start off with basically who you are and how you became R. Kelly's advisor or consultant.
Well, I'm Don Russell. Me and Rob go way back. We used to street perform together back in the day. He would be playing his piano in the subways, and we were tap dancers, me and my cousin, and we would constantly, fight over the stop. He would end up there first, or we would end up there first. He was a few years older than us, so he didn't have to go to school at that time. We did. So the rush hour time was the best time to get down there and really, make the best bang for your buck and your time. So that was how we actually met, street performing. Then after that, once we ended our years in the streets, Rob went on. He was doing the music thing, and we were doing the dance thing. So we went off and did Broadway. Me and my cousin went to the highest heights, River Dance, Noise Funk, Johnny's Last Jam, a lot of those shows all over the world touring. And he was doing this thing in music. I mean, we would often meet up in different towns and cities, and just laugh and fun and have fun and talk about the good old days being in the subway and things that we were going to do one day. So being in the entertainment industry, of course, I kept my ears to the ground about a lot of things that he was dealing with and going through.
They said they can't really hear you, so if you could like speak up a little bit.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Is that better? So like I said, being in the entertainment industry, we did a lot of I kept my ears to the ground about what was going on in his career. We would often meet up in different towns and cities and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when you're in the industry, you have access to to get certain updates, that from the inner circle versus what's being said out into the public. So um, that's just it. I mean, that's how we met each other, and over the years, that's all it was for about 20 plus years. Um, how I became involved with his career was uh, he. I heard the song "I Admit," and at the time
Mm-hmm.
I was headed back out to California. I've got businesses out in California that I was going back to re-engage with, and I heard the song, and I'm like, that can't be for real. I mean, I heard rumors about his money and his financial situations, but when somebody's got to that height, it's always money stashed here, money invested in that. And
Mm-hmm.
like how many times Donald Trump filed for bankruptcy, but he wasn't really broke. He was hiding money, whatever. So in my mind, it was like, there's no way he's broke. He's just maybe trying to escape some collectors or somebody trying to sue him. But when he
Yeah.
put that song out there, was like, that's a little different because now that's him saying it. It's not me hearing the rumors. And so I drove back to Chicago. I turned back around, went back to Chicago, and I drove straight to his studio, and it was like, say it ain't so. I mean, so he at the time was down there having an engagement. He pulled me back into the studio, he, you know, just kind of broke down everything that was going to me, and I'm like, holy crap, you know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, I mean, that's heavy. Like to hear him say it out of his own mouth, and he was real candid about the situation that he was in, you know. And I'm like, wow. So Rob, I mean, I've got a lot of industry connects. By that time, I had owned a recording studio. I had worked with over 7 years with Sony as an A&R director there. Um, I associate producer on Steve Harvey, Bernie Mac show, and I had resources and connections in the industry. So I'm like, well, Rob, you know, and then a lot of financial connections because I had actually started a tech company at the time, and then my restaurant business is kind of booming. So I had connections that I could reach out to and resources that I'm like, okay, well, let me pull
Where you
some.
could like kind of like help him out and things like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So that's what it started off was like, let's roll up our sleeves. There was no official position because from the song, I didn't, and then from what I had known, I never wanted to be another manager, Tim, because one, I have a fiduciary responsibility to my shareholders to not take on any other responsibility or any other job title while I'm the president or CEO of my company. So I just said, listen, let me come in and consult and advise you, and then let's open up some different channels to create, revenue. And that's essentially how it began. You know, he was talking about, really kind of coming back from doing the shows, and he wanted to embrace doing some, some writing for some theatricals, putting together like a content fulfillment center where he would write for different companies, whether it was commercials, books, whatever it was. We wanted to diversify his brand, and that's what we really did. You know, R. Kelly is a brand; it's not just a man; it's a brand. Robert
Mm-hmm.
Sylvester Kelly works for the R. Kelly brand, so it's like Michael Jordan, the brand Jordan. So the first thing was we had to exterminate. I mean, it was a lot of, as part of what he had, kind of confided in me was there was a lot of internal. He called them snakes. I mean, that's what he said. Listen, hey, everybody out there's a snake. I don't trust nobody. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay. He said, so right now I'm one and you two. And I'm like, and he said, so that's all you need to worry about. Just go out here and do your things and don't let nobody know what it is that you're doing. I'm like, okay,
Okay.
cool, not a problem. He was being managed by Mason, James Mason, and at the time, and Holder was his accountant, John Holder. So the first thing was really, I mean, when you're actually rebuilding a brand, you have to find out how fragile it is and how unstable it is, and what the
Mm-hmm.
foundation is made up of. So,
Basically, like who's a part of the team, who don't need to be a part of the team,
well, it wasn't even
and
the team because we was building a whole new team. I had brought in some guys from Goldman Sachs. I had brought in some IT guys to build digital platforms. I brought in some investors. We did a roundtable meeting. He loved it because it was like, okay, this is a new fresh start, a new beginning. So everything was moving. I mean, we had purchased some property to put new studios in and all of that kind of stuff. And I actually wouldn't purchase it. One of our investors gifted us with it, but we still had to do some things to clear it up. And uh, we had, he had really started embracing this new transition that he was ready to, dive into. But the issue was his finances was kind of in the toilet.
mm-hmm.
So I covered as much as I could with the permission of my shareholders for about 3 or 4 months. I mean, whatever it was that he couldn't have, it was an investment to us. It's like, this is a guy that we are in the entertainment industry, tech applications that we build for the entertainment industry to put his name on those platforms, in those different applications. We felt that it would attract, a higher level of market.
Like revenue.
Well, yeah, well, that's next. I mean, but you have to be attractive to your stakeholders, people that want to come in and help you build a brand. So we did that. And then the thing about Lifetime, the rumors of Lifetime hit while we were out on the tour. And it was like, okay, we can't take the next steps until we figure out how deep this rabbit hole is. So what I did was I dispatched a team to start investigating, what we were hearing the chatter about the Lifetime thing, and
You're
through
talking about
that,
the first surviving R. Kelly. You guys were on tour, and then while you were on tour, the surviving R. Kelly aired, and then from there you kind of devised the plan to and investigate, is what you're saying, as to the rumors that was alleged. Is
right,
that what I'm gathering?
it's something like that, right? Exactly. So the first part of it to me was okay. We've already heard about the young ladies accusing, and I've been in the industry for years, and I know how, I guess for a better word, treacherous, a scorned fan or a scorned ex or anything could be. So that wasn't anything new or shocking to me because I have, worked with some of the groups in the past, the B2Ks and all those guys who have been challenged for so many different things. So, some women accusing him of XYZ wasn't really a big deal. But when we started hearing about the federal investigations and stuff, that's what was like, okay, well, how we need to see how serious that kind of stuff is. So the first thing was like, Rob, where did all the money go? I mean, like, you
Mm-hmm.
got hits all over the world. You should be receiving royalties on a quarterly basis. He was like, royalties? Like, what's that? I'm like, you don't know what royalties are? And I had to break it down, mechanical and performance royalties. And mechanical royalties are things that when you elevated music, you played in the background of a movie. Performance royalties are your downloads and streams and all that kind of stuff. Performance royalties are when you do performance like your music is played at a halftime of a game and all that kind of stuff. Those are royalties that are being collected, and ASCAP and BMI is responsible for that. And those royalties are collected, and then they should go either into um, the label would actually control that, whoever handles your distribution, and then you would get a quarterly disbursement. So he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've ever received one in my life.
Oh,
So we,
wow.
yeah, so we actually got access. He gave us access to his Sony portal and his BMI portal, and that's where it actually started for us. Because when we started digging into it, and we were seeing all these ancillary companies set up, he would have like a RSK Enterprises.
Did this happen before or after the documentary? So you guys start digging into,
Yeah,
okay, so you guys started to dig into his finances, trying to figure out, where his money is, why he's not getting royalties. You guys started prying into these things. He gave you access into his, you said BMI
his
portal?
BMI portal and
Uh-huh.
his BMI and his Sony portal.
Okay.
Sony owns RCA Records, so that's where in the portal is where all of the copies of his contracts, his licensing deals, all that stuff sits in there. So we're talking hundreds of contracts over the years that Sony inherited when they bought him from Zomba, which was Jive Records. So all those
Mm-hmm.
contracts are sitting there, and that's where it's like an archive of all of his contracts. So when I specifically said, so Rob, how much of your publishing do you own? And he was,
Okay.
what I mean, I don't know. So we went in and we saw that he only owned 10% of his publishing because they had auctioned or hawked off his publishing to pull in the money for his first trial. They borrowed $9 million and they by the name of Daryl McDavid. And I'm like, Rob, why did you have to borrow against your publishing when you are doing all these shows? You got all this money coming in from overseas records, royalties, and all that kind. Why are you borrowing against your publishing? You should have enough money. I mean, to have paid for that trial and whatever else you needed. Because
Right.
what we started realizing was that he didn't own anything. I mean, they were renting
Mm-hmm.
an apartment, the studio. They were paying. They had took out put a mortgage on it when they didn't need to. And that's Joan and Linda, Joan Sullivan and Linda Mintz. Um, it was just so many things in it that just didn't seem right. Like, what the hell? Like, where's the money? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so what happened was in that asking that question, we start. I brought in some entertainment attorneys, and they start digging, and we start finding the money. It's like, Rob, the money is coming in. It's just not coming to you. I mean, you got these
Mm-hmm.
accounts set up over here.
And this was all before the docuseries.
Yeah, this is all. I mean, this is
Okay.
like the history of stuff that had been happening, and Rob was getting like a weekly allowance. So he got $100,000 a week allowance, and as long as he got that,
He was
believed
comfortable with that.
he was comfortable. But he also believed that his previous managers and accountants would putting his money in areas that would produce a return. Meaning he had
Mm-hmm.
invested in nightclubs and purchased properties and stuff, and he's thinking that stuff is earning him interest. When in actuality, none of that stuff was in his name. They just used his money to secure it, and they used his social security number, which was the bad thing for all of those corporations they set up to take in the cash. So that's how he got into that tax problem where he owed the government $18 million, I think it was, when we first got on board. And it was like, this is unethical practices. And for his
Mm-hmm.
previous general manager, which was Daryl McDavid, to be a certified public accountant, why would he do that? That was the first question. Why would he put you in a position to have
Be
potential tax
yeah.
issues, right? So I mean, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like Daryl was an accountant. How does Rob have tax issues? I mean, so
Yeah, like that's what the accountant's job is, to take care of that.
he started off as his accountant. Barry Hankerson hired Daryl as the accountant, and
Barry
Barry was
Hankinson is Aaliyah's uncle, right?
he's Aaliyah's uncle, but he's also Rob's first manager. Rob met him when he was he auditioned for a musical at the Regal Theater. Barry was the executive producer of it, and Barry, who was married to Gladys Knight, he managed Timberland, Missy Elliott, Tony Braxton, and groups like that.
Is it
Um,
true that Aaliyah's some of his publishing for, I think it's I Believe I Could Fly or something like that, is signed over to Aaliyah's parents through?
no, 18% of Rob's entire publishing, not just from one song, his entire publishing catalog is signed over to Barry Hankerson and Aaliyah forever, and that's deals that people don't make. I mean, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how did they get a? I mean, even the labels after 36 years have to return 50% of the publishing back to the original author of the publishing. So I mean, and that poses, just remember that part of what I said, because that poses the question on some of the things that he's going through now. Who's really investing in him not taking control back of his publishing? I mean,
Mm-hmm. So basically, you think that when you guys started to pry, well, what it sounds like is when you guys started to pry into his financials, you seen that he had 18% of his publishing of his entire catalog signed over to Barry and Aaliyah's family. You seen that money was different places, and then you guys started to pry into his finances. Then this whole thing started, you would say, about these, or what do you think?
well, Rob owned 10%, so 90% of his publishing he did not own. He
Okay.
started off with 50%. It was a 50-50 deal. He had 50, the label had 50, which is typical. With an artist of R. Kelly's statute, being that a majority of his revenue came at one point from publishing, and he had already been a proven, success story. When he went from Zamba to Sony, he should have had a better deal. Whoever negotiated the Sony contract should have made it 25-75, something to that nature. But 50-50 is not bad. Most artists get that, and that's still a
Mm-hmm.
lot of money. But in diving into that, that his Sony portal and his business on the music side, and the reason we wanted to do that was because we had to get him gas. The brand is a machine, and it has
Mm-hmm.
to have gas money in order to operate. Not Robert Kelly, but the brand R. Kelly, because you have to hire people. You have to hire people to maintain certain things, and if it's not bringing any revenue in, then of course you don't have the money that it takes to grow the brand and do other things with it. So in doing that, we really started seeing that, okay, this is one area of his life that he has no handle over. He's typically or basically been believing in all this time that he was financially stable and straight, when in actuality he wasn't. So
Okay.
uh, that is to me where it all began. Where and that started from day one. Barry was his first manager.
Why was 18% of his publishing signed over to Aaliyah's family?
That part I don't know. I can't explain why they cut that deal. But and I'm not going to even assume anything because I never asked Rob that question. Why does Barry, why does Barry and the Horton family own 18% of your publishing? Back in those days, you got to think about it. We're talking about 35 years ago. R. Kelly was a kid out of the subways of Chicago, partially educated, just happy to have a deal. So he would have signed anything to get that chance to start him at that time. This ain't nothing that he signed yesterday. This was in his beginning. I mean, you're talking about he was 23, 24 years old. He got a record deal out of coming out of subways, doing big breaks. So that was like I could see why he would do that then.
So that didn't happen after the Aaliyah situation.
No,
that happened before.
no. So what I believe from knowing Barry and knowing how everything went down with Barry and Aaliyah and Rob was that Barry, gave that percentage to Aaliyah because of his part in the debacle that happened between Rob and the Aaliyah situation, which that was strictly Barry pushing, his niece on Rob, and and even Aaliyah's mom, who Rob had, a special relationship with, to produce her, it was like, okay, I done torn apart this family. I'm gonna make sure y'all got something to be quiet and to stay out of it. You know what I mean? Because at that time,
Mm-hmm.
Rob was the golden goose. So to stop them from going public on what really happened, what part Barry had in it, he gave them a percentage of what was going on.
What part happened with what?
I mean, with the whole marriage with Aaliyah, which wasn't really in a marriage, they applied for a marriage certificate, but they never actually had a ceremony, so there was never a marriage. So that's why they went the whole route of annulment. But Robert and Aaliyah's mom was in a relationship, and Barry's and Aaliyah's father had an issue with that.
Wait. R. Kelly and Aaliyah's mom, you said, was in a relationship first?
Yeah. So
okay, because there was allegations that she slept with R. Kelly, but I didn't know the validity of it if she actually really was with him. So the mama, you saying the mom was with him and then he got with the daughter?
Let's look at all of these scenarios let's just look at the ones that people know that's public. Aaliyah, Clary, and Savage. Rob was with the mothers first. And as part of what the mothers asked Rob to do was, my daughter's a singer. Can you please look out to a trainer and get her right and make her famous, make her a star? So as him being said, okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna do that.
Wait. You said Aaliyah, Clary, and Savage. That's
the Hortons, Aaliyah's mother.
Okay,
Savage,
and
which is Jonjolin Savage, and what is the
okay.
Clary, which is Allison Clary. They were involved with Rob. The mothers were involved with him, and they pushed the daughters on him. That's what happened in each instance. I don't know. We froze.
Oh, hello. I don't know what happened. It kind of froze.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now go ahead. So so you said he was with the mothers first, and so you're insinuating that he was with Joycelyn's mom first too?
Yeah. Yes.
And Azriel's mother as well? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
In what way?
I mean, a relationship. I mean, I wasn't in the room to witness what
happened.
Okay,
we gonna say allegedly.
No, this is for real. This is out the horse's mouth. He told me, and he confirmed certain things, and that's where, when you think about how Aaliyah's father went to
wait, hold up, wait. Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry to back off, but okay. So, just go, because and we just gonna say allegedly. You saying you heard it from him, but I'm just gonna say allegedly.
No, listen. If it was me, allegedly, this is the king of R&B. Let's not act like there aren't women all around the world that want a piece of R. Kelly. That's just what it is. I mean, I've been there when the mother was on one side and the daughter was on the other side, and it was like, whichever one he chose, he could have it. You know what I mean? That's his life, but that's no different from a lot of these guys that's that high up in the industry. Rock stars, pop stars, all of them have the same options. You know what I mean? They can choose left or right or both. You know what I mean? So, and that's the thing, is like people get so like confused when women talk about this kind of stuff. So do men. I mean, it's like, I think some of these websites have mom and daughter. That ain't just something somebody thought up. It happens. And it happens with some of the top celebrities in this company, in this world. So Rob had a relationship with Leah's mom. The father came in the studio one day with a gun, pulled it on him and said, "Stay the fuck away from my family." Then, and while he was producing them, which Barry was responsible for basically ending that situation, because he's the one that started it. And that's how that backed out. There was never a marriage. It was an annulment. If anybody does the research, they'll see that. Fast forwarding ahead to Jonjolin and Allison, it's the same thing. They both went in, slept with him first. Will you produce my daughter? And then after that happened, then it was like he had the daughters, and the daughters get with him, say, "Oh, my mom trying to use you," and all this old stuff. Because each one of them presented different business deal transactions that they wanted Rob to sign off on. I think Allison had a sex dildo, and that's from the horse's mouth. She had a dildo that she wanted.
Allison Clary, right? That's Azriel's mother.
Right. She wanted Rob to put some voiceovers, so when you turn on the dildo, it would say stuff like, "I feel so freaky tonight," all that kind of stuff while the dildo's on, vibrating. And he refused to do that. And Angelo, the father, put deals in front of him as well that Rob backed away from, and that's when things got hostile with them. Same thing with the Tim Savage and Jondralyn. They had some lingerie boutiques, and they wanted Rob to buy all of the stuff out of the lingerie boutiques for his girls when he was doing the Black Panties tour. And he refused to do that, you know what I mean? And, you know, things started going south whenever they trying to use their daughters to push things in front of them, because Rob went past after he had the mothers, and now he's with the daughters, and the daughters is filling his ears up with all of the stuff that the moms are conspiring on against him. He just backed up completely. So that's typically the scenario of what happened between the relationship. And then you got these fathers who now didn't benefit at all. I mean, who are just on a revenge trip right now, because you got to think about what would drive a man to go as hard. I mean, they don't care about their daughters. I mean, Azriel's doing documentaries a day after leaving them, and Joycelyn, won't even go back to hers, and he's locked up. I mean, so if these were situations where these men had, or these families were the ones that they are trying to proclaim, it wouldn't be that difficult for Joycelyn or whatever, or Azriel, to go back home. And it was just ran back home the moment he was locked up. I mean, but the money dried up. I mean, Azriel, couldn't get any more money out of Rob, and she had nothing else to fall back on. So that's why she started, listening to Dad and getting involved with these documentaries and all the things that she's doing right now to generate some money.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm just still shocked. I'm just listening to it. I'm still shocked. And I do have to say the views and opinions are alleged, because I wasn't there, and just to protect my platform. But I hear, you are his right hand man, you're his consultant. You guys were together when he, was on his way to trial. And I seen, like, you spoke out to the news media. You were with him all these different times. So
let me say something first. What I won't say is I'm his right hand. What I will say is my hand is back.
Well, that's more.
And because of my experience in the industry, I knew how to dig and look at places that a lot of people that are not in the industry and don't understand how this industry works wouldn't understand where to dig and where to look to find certain things. Rob and I were friends, absolutely. I mean, that was the majority of our relationship. We were friends that grew up, and Rob showed me that a person could make it from the subway. So with that being said, I never asked him for anything else. All I needed was evidence that it was possible for that to happen. So when he went off and got his deal, our thing was Broadway, and that's what we did. So we went to the top in our field. I was just more comfortable being behind the scenes and doing that kind of stuff. So me coming on your show now, because we talked a while ago, and I told you, listen, I'm not interested in doing anything. But after that, people went on a mudslinging like episode with throwing Don's name in the dirt and all this kind of stuff, because the work that I had performed and the research that I had did, it will shine a different truth on what people are focused on today. It shows the conspiracy that dates back to the beginning of his career, and why people have motive to do some of the things that are being done that's keeping him in prison right now. And the only way now, knowing, because once it got out, and I had to go on a couple of blog shows, and defend my own self, because you got people talking about I did this, I stole that, and all that crap. It's like, no, I'm not gonna, don't unearth me, because I will come out and say something. But that was a smear tactic to discredit me, so that, and I'm not saying, public opinion matters, it does, but to discredit me. So when I did finally speak out, it was like, don't listen to that guy. And I don't really care about that kind of stuff. People, whatever people say about me, because I know who I am as a person. But in the instance right now of Rob and his freedom, some of the research and intel that we gathered paints a totally different picture than what people are focused on. Everything right now that's in the media is smoke and mirrors. People are focused on, the girls, and thinking that this got something to do with that, when it really doesn't. I mean, these young ladies are, the reason they are allowing that to happen, because they're keeping the folks that really, dishonored him hidden. They don't want, people like yourself who have who mobilized an entire infantry of R. Kelly supporters to go find out the dirt that the actual people who got him in this situation have committed. Because then when that starts to leak, that's their case. Their case is not Jahonda Pace. Their case is not Faith Rogers. Their case is not Kitty and all those folks. That's not the case. Robert beat that hands down. The case is this RICO, this trafficking, this criminal enterprise that they're trying to accuse him of. And it's like, okay, how do we sneak that in there? And why is that not being the topic of anything that's discussed on any of these blog platforms? Because when the gauntlet comes down, they don't want their case to be tampered with a judge. They want to open and shut case, and they don't want him to have any type of defense. So my goal here lately, because Rob sent the message out, Don can change the narrative. Attorney won't talk to me, and I've reached out to Greenberg and those guys on multiple occasions. They won't talk to me.
Why won't they talk to you?
Typically, I believe they're working for the other side, and I don't have anything nice to say about them. Me and Green, when Rob first caught the case, it was real simple. It was a smaller case. It was Jahonda Pace, Faith Rogers, and a few other folks, the girls. And Rob brought me in the studio with Greenberg, just the three of us. And he said, obviously, it was another young lady in the studio as well. He said, Don, Greenberg is my choice. I want you to work with him. I said, okay. No problem. Same thing to Greenberg. He shook my hand. Rob walked out and he started talking about a fucking orgy or something that he was going to be having that weekend that he was missing out on because of this stuff with R. Kelly. I'm like, first of all, dude, that ain't.
You saying the lawyer? Oh my God.
Yeah, he's a pig. That ain't my business. And why is that's the first thing out your mouth? You don't break the ice with somebody by talking about stuff like that. And then on multiple occasions, I'm like, listen, I've reached out to him and said, Greenberg, this is intel that you need. One, let's attack these smaller cases and get some victories on Rob's side. Let's motion up the smaller cases, like against the Jahonda Paces and all. Let's get some victories. Let's get the momentum flowing in our direction. And the intel that we have can really prove that these women are lying. Let's get the momentum. So when you go to the major case, which is the Homeland Security case, you've got momentum. And then here are some things that you may not know about. Now, listen, Greenberg may be a nice guy. Maybe he's having orgies or something. Somebody would love to participate in that, so he may be cool. But as far as his legal acumen, I question that. I mean, I brought in Meseroff, who said he's not the guy that I would ever work with. And that's why Meseroff is not on the team. Steinbeck, I didn't bring him in, but I consulted with Steinbeck. Steinbeck talked on Jeff Steinbeck on several occasions. He's a negotiator. I'm not working with him. Any other legal advisor on some of the highest levels have all stated he's a gunslinger. He doesn't know what he's doing. And the fact of the matter is, when he took on Rob's case, it was lesser charges. It's like an example is, it's like you represent guys who've got traffic infractions, and a guy comes and say, listen, I ran 2 lights and hit a parked car, and you take the case. Okay, I'm gonna defend you. But then when you get into the case and you find out after discovery that not only did he do that, but he was fleeing the police, he robbed 2 banks, shot 3 people, and killed his brother. As an attorney, you say, whoa, that's too big. That's not what I signed up for. You need some bigger guys. And I will give them a bigger firm the research that I've had, and that's who's going to represent you. You don't keep the case knowing that that's not what you signed up for, and you don't have the wherewithal to defend Rob against those type of charges. He's never been in that arena before. Scott Peterson, he did represent, Drew Peterson, I think it was. He represented him, but he got, that was incompetence. But, he's never been at this level before. And I tell people, I say, listen, just because you've got a lawyer doesn't mean that you've got someone that can properly adjudicate your case. The lawyer, he may be a good one at certain levels, but Rob needs a legal defense team. Michael Jordan's a great basketball player, but if it wasn't for the other 4 guys and the guys on the bench, he wouldn't have won the rings. That's a team. And right now, Greenberg is not an excellent litigator. He's not an excellent researcher, and he's definitely not an excellent negotiator. So where's the team?
I was just baffled when he gave validity to the fake Joycelyn account. I was just like, that kind of like, I was like, what? Because when there was that whole Patreon account that was supposed to have been Joycelyn Savage,
right?
And it was her like, allegedly like making up these claims. And then to me, like I read it and right away I was like, that's with what the parents or anybody has. So the things that took place, like none of it lines up, and it sounded just like I could have wrote it. It didn't sound, anything wasn't like personalized to them or what a girlfriend, a boyfriend relationship would be like. It was just like, if I watch a documentary and I say, okay, this is what happened with me and Rob, based on what other people said. You know, that's kind of what it sounded like. And for him to give validity to that without knowing if it was her or not, right. I was like, you know, that's kind of strange. Well, and then he never came back out and said that it wasn't her. He just deleted the tweets. So I was like, I raised an eyebrow to that. But other than that, I don't know about his lawyering.
Ever since Rob has had Greenberg, he's been getting locked up. Period. I mean, it's the day after the studio he decided to move out the studio. We had wrote a press conference that for the city, and I had a team of people write the press conference. Write the press release, and it basically stated, and it came out for about 2 minutes on TMZ, stating that you know, he had made a decision to move. It was his ability to continue to produce music with all the distractions were, you know, was no longer something that he could do effectively at that property. He wanted to thank his fans and his millions of fans. He's going to take a break now and find him another place. And then it didn't say anything negative about the city. It was more like, you know, we understand what the city had to do. We should fully support the city in their investigation, all of that kind of stuff. And we put that out there. Greenberg retracted it, put out a statement comparing him to Michael, like some of the biggest musicians in the world, and Fred Astaire, all this stuff. And it's like, and
it's going in and out.
What they did, and then the very next day, Rob got arrested. When we were getting Rob's cases, some of the civil cases, you don't, as a person getting a civil case, you don't have to. It's a contract. You don't have to agree to that contract. So by him hiring Greenberg and Greenberg answering that we will continue to fight these cases, that entered Rob into certain contracts that he did not have to enter into. What we were doing was we were basically saying, listen, we don't consent to these contracts and we're not going to move forward. We stated his UCC rights, which is the Uniform Control Code 1-308, that he's an individual, and an individual does not have to form a contract with a corporation, period. And that's what we're coming after him. The judicial system is a corporation. So when we were doing that, all those lawsuits were going away. When Greenberg started taking this case, jockeying for position, throwing his face in front of the public, you know, to get popularity, started going to jail. His most recent response was to the fight, and he said that was a publicity stunt to get their YouTube followers.
He said it was staged. Yeah,
it was the stupidest thing to say, though. First of all, what he should have pointed out was this is an example of what these women do when they love him one day and hate him the next. I mean, that's typically what that was, and it was good that we have that because it shows. Azriel Clary a couple of days on Gayle King saying we love him, all this old stuff. He's this, he's that. He's the greatest man in the world. He's never done this. Then the very next day, she's plotting on, oh, yeah, y'all think y'all did. Is somebody going to jail up in here? You slept, all the stupid stuff that was done. How did she go from one extreme to the next? And what happened between that? What happened was she had tried to hustle him for some money, extort him for some money while he was locked up. And, you know, and he told her no for just reasons. He doesn't have it. And from that point forward, she flew out to California, met with Shabazz. He paid her. And now, you know, she's, you know, getting money in that direction. So now all of a sudden, in order for her to have a livelihood and continue her 15 minutes of fame, she got to come out against him. But it clearly showed how somebody could love him one day, and the moment you're a non-factor, hate him the exact next. I mean, a couple of days later. So instead of him pointing that out, I think he always has opportunities to move the needle forward, but his direct responses show somebody who's not acting in the best interest of Rob, because you're supposed to consult with several attorneys and even a crisis manager and a publicist before you put out a statement. But his statements, like when he put out the statement about Rob needs to get out because his civil rights were violated. That's true. But then he said he also needs to go home and see his two girlfriends. Why would you put, when you file a motion for someone, and if that motion gets denied, you lose the ability to refile that motion. So now, with that being denied for his civil liberties, which is something to fight for, he coupled it with he needs to see his two girlfriends. They deny it because of the girlfriends and not his liberties were, you know, denied. It's like the black stain on the white shirt. He just ruined the damn shirt with that why would you even say that? As a lawyer, you should know better than to say that. So, and then the thing about the toe. I mean, it's like, come on, stop screwing up. The precedence that these lawyers need to go after a bond or house arrest. We're putting stupid things in the pie and messing it up, and that's what he keeps doing. So it's like me as a regular person, that's not a lawyer. I have studied, my rights. I do know my rights and things of that nature, and I do study law. But lawyers are saying, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And it's not just me. I've talked to several lawyers and said, he's got to get new attorneys. And it's not up to a new attorney to fire his old one. Rob has to do that. That's just the legal code. It's a brotherhood. So
when's the last time you talked to him?
I had word from him last week.
Oh, okay. So you guys are in current communication and everything?
We communicate. We have a way of communicating, yes.
Okay. Is it through like the emails or?
No. They read all the emails. It's a different. It's more simpler than that. So
okay, yeah. But you guys are in current communication.
Yeah, we are. I mean, me and Rob. It's certain things when you know how things are supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. You don't have to get somebody's talk to them every day to go do what it is you do. It's like when you hire Dennis Rodman to get rebounds. You don't have to tell Dennis Rodman when he gets on the court, get rebounds. It's like I'm in this position for a certain reason. He knows my history of what I've done with other companies, which is why he turned a lot of stuff over to me in the first place. So he doesn't have to tell me to do certain things that I know are right by him to get him in a better position to one day adjudicate his case and get his freedom back.
Okay. It is 1,800 of you guys right now in the chat. I want you guys all to hit the like button if you guys have not already. I'm going to have a question and answers from you guys shortly where you guys can ask certain questions. I can't slow it down the chat with StreamYard. So it's going by fast. So if you guys have a specific question that you want me to ask, then the best way for me to see it is to send in a super chat or something like that, and it'll like flash a color and I'll be able to see it better. But hold off on that. Okay, so it's just I haven't even had to ask that many questions because you just kind of been filling everything in. But so when it comes to Azriel and Joycelyn, so you say the situation with Azriel, the reason why she decided to flip to the other side, you're alleging that she basically wanted to get money from him. He said no, and therefore she found a way to get money through Shabazz, who is the guy who's currently doing her documentary.
It's not just Shabazz. There's a lot of folks that's looking for somebody to sling mud, and her turning to the other side is like any good movie. I mean, when the guy that was like wrestling, when the guy that's two teammates, one of them turns and beats his teammate over the head, that pushes the ratings up through the ceiling. And what's tragic in this case is that the media is really controlling public opinion with this, and they have deep resources and a deep influence, and so many people are like Azriel and Joycelyn who were initially talents who were searching for their stardom. People, I don't want to bring this name up in any negative fashion, but what I will say is like the sex tape that came out on what's the girl? Ray J and Kim Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian.
That propelled her career. I mean, that one sex tape propelled her. So however you got to do it, get it done. That's just how it is. I mean, so media is using these young women and their experience, whether it's real or not, with Rob, and they're feeling as if this is their opportunity to get in because they didn't get in organically through their talents being recognized by someone in the industry that would take them over the top.
Okay. Is Joycelyn still supporting R. Kelly, or what the situation is with that?
She seems to be. I mean, Joycelyn always, whenever I was in Joycelyn's company, which was, I won't say that we spent time around when we had like communication. Joycelyn was always the reserved, laid-back one who was an introvert. She didn't speak much. The feisty one was always Azriel. So it's along with my perception of Joycelyn that she's one of those women that's going to go down.
She's like loyal, basically.
Yeah, she has that acumen about her. I would be surprised if she came out. She would probably have to be in some very extreme conditions, but I still don't think she has it in her to say anything negative about him. I mean, she had a
Okay.
very uh, troubling experience that happened with her family. And Rob shined the light on a different thing. Rob could have been with any woman in the world for him to invite at this time in his career, Joycelyn and Az to come stay with him. You know, they're not foolish enough not to realize that he put a lot on the line for that. And even in the end, when everybody was saying send him home, he kept him there. I mean, when he could have sent them home. I mean, so that's just the whole thing. So I think Joycelyn, to me, I don't think that we'll see her turning on Rob. I don't think that that'll happen. But I've been wrong before, so I mean, I'll put that disclaimer in there.
It's kind of going in and out.
My connection.
It's kind of going in and out. Is it going in and out for you guys too? Hello? I mean, I'm saying hello. Is it going in and out? No? It's kind of okay. My friend said that it was fine. Okay, so Azriel had put up this reply to people, and I don't know if I can't really make it bigger, but I guess I'll just read it. So someone went on her page and they wanted to ask her what the reason was why she left R. Kelly. In her summary, she said, long story short, I left Rob because he was a liar and he was lying to Joy. Robert planned when and how he was going to let Joy go. If she was the one, she wouldn't have went 4 to 5 months without seeing him. I was the only person asked to see at visitation every time, not Joy. And the only reason why she is able to see him now is because I left. He didn't care for Joy, and I didn't like that. He was using her. And I told him that at my very last visitation to get rid of her if he didn't care. And his last words were, we have to feed the tiger before the tiger bites us, not meaning me, but him. So Azriel wrote that on her Instagram. And I was going to put that I'm still going to put that in a separate video, but I want to know your thoughts as to her saying that.
If she even wrote it, I doubt she wrote that. That sounds like something that someone wrote on her behalf, but that's not true. I mean, Rob, from my vantage point, and I've only been around him about a year, directly about a year and a half. It's like you don't have to. When you know who you are and what you mean to someone, you don't have to revalidate that every day. Joycelyn was the one that constantly needed to be paid attention to. Not Joycelyn, Azriel, I'm sorry. Azriel was, not Joycelyn. I mean, Joycelyn already knew her position with Rob. So so for her to say that, that's backwards. I mean, Azriel was always slipping away. She was always feisty. She was always pushing her weight around. And I did peep that on several occasions. But Joy didn't do that. She was more relaxed, calm, and laid back. So, and it was a lot of occasions where Joycelyn was the only one that was with Rob. I mean, they spent a lot of time together. And if you actually look at some of the women that Rob has dated in his past, she fits in that same, the ones that he cared about, not the ones that he's been with, the ones that he cared about. She fits within that same style. But at this point, Azriel is tainted. Anybody who believes anything out of her mouth, that's just like she's not with him. So why even listen to her? I mean, I don't care to read anything. That's just like me reading something that Jim DeRogatis writes about R. Kelly. It's bogus.
Do you think that Azriel was? Well, I'm going to ask you this, and then I'll go back to Azriel. So someone sent in a super chat and said, "Will R. Kelly sue all that stole money from him?"
That's what we were planning to do, and that's why once again, when I talk about the people that are discrediting me and all that, is because they know we have the evidence on that, and that goes back. It's a laundry list, and I put the names out there. I've been threatened. I've been, whatever. I mean, at this point, I don't even give a crap anymore. It's like, whatever. Say what you like. Say what you may. It is what it is. Y'all stole from this man. You're going, whether you face your judgment, in this life or the next, God, your karma is real. So when you talk about Barry Hankerson, when you talk about Joan, Linda, Daryl McDavid, Wayne Williams, Artie, these guys have been ripping this man off for years. And what happened was we had to say, okay, who we gonna go after first? Do we go after Lifetime for infringing on his trademarks, or do we start putting lawsuits against everybody that's ripped them off for small money? So you got to realize you have to pick your battles. So to us, you know, what I mean, when we got to a point, you got to realize the same people that ripped them off, they weren't gonna sue themselves. It took somebody that came in that wasn't eating from him. I wasn't eating from R. Kelly, Rob. I never once did I make. Well, I'm sorry. When I started booking the shows, which only made sense, we took the 20% from booking those shows. But most of that money went to paying off people that was owed money, like his stage hands and things of that nature, legal fees. So the money that came in for some of the shows, which was 20%, we took that and we reinvested it into getting him out of some of the issues that he did have. But, you know, it was so many people that had stole from him. It was like, I had never seen so much like anarchy and just, you know, just, it was disgusting to see that. I mean, people like, you know what I mean, your cousins and uncles and friends and then by people not really knowing our history, because nobody knew about the subway thing. They know now probably because they're watching this. They didn't know how far back we went. So to them, I was a new face in the camp. They could Google me or whatever they did and say, okay, this guy's got some industry experience. That's why Rob got him around. But they didn't know we was homies from street performing. I hadn't been around him because I was in my world, he was in his. So yeah, I mean, you know, if he started suing, he would probably, you know, be suing from now until the day he died from all of the people that ripped him off over his 35-year career. And those are the people that are now turning over evidence to Homeland Security. I mean, to that's got him, you know, in prison right now because they're saying, oh yeah, he ran a criminal enterprise. He flew a lady from Atlanta to New York to have sex with her, and then he gave his other guys money to take her shopping. So that's now called trafficking. Well, then half the men in America should be locked up if that's actually trafficking. But the way they're positioning it is they're making it seem as if he was running this criminal enterprise to bring women in and pay them and dine them around and just for sex. So that really wasn't the case. What happened was the motive that they had to do that was all of the money that they stole from them. So they figured we got to put landmines in the road. So when this guy goes to sue us back, he's dealing with the effects of the landmines that blew up and not actually what we did. He'll never get to us because there's too many landmines in the road.
Somebody said, is Dominique Gardner's baby his? That's not his baby. Her baby daddy is a white guy voice. Okay, and then another person wanted to know, what do you think about Shabazz's documentary?
Well, I'm against anybody who does a documentary when the person is still alive and they do it on their life story. I mean, and that's troubling to me because if Rob was out, that wouldn't have came out. We all know that. So for them to do a documentary that he did not sign off on, he didn't participate in, it's really troubling. And the thing about it is, you know, we were in the process of doing that. Rob had actually shot some footage. We had all of the fly-in clips from actual episodes that happened. And that's the deal that we were actually negotiating with AMI. I negotiated that deal. AMI was my connection. I knew Dylan from back in the day, from being in the industry. And we had to go to people who were willing to work with him despite all of the foolishness that was going around in his professional career at that time. So to do a documentary without his consent, without him signing off on it, to me, it's like you're doing this you're coming up at the expense of someone else, you know. And from my understanding, a lot of the things that he shot in there were not. I mean, anybody who sees Jasmine and some of the clowns that's in this damn, you know, documentary who surfaced the last 2-3 months after he's been in prison, and you put them in a documentary, that should say a lot about that person. I mean, he hasn't done any fact checking. He hasn't done any research to validate any of who these people are. He's just going off of the clowns that were around Rob. So, oh yeah, this person is important. Put it in the documentary, and it's stupid. I mean, first of all, it looks. I mean, my son could have did a better edit on that. I mean, that's just it was so you know, ghetto, for lack of a better word, poorly produced. And if Shabazz wants to hang his hat on that, then that's not going to help his career move forward. Period.
Okay. Someone wanted to know, it's a question for Don Russell. Ask him, why did he say R. Kelly has a problem with having sex with girls and needs to be in a room with psychiatrists?
Psychiatrists.
I mean,
And that's true.
I'm over here tripping.
I mean,
Psychiatrist.
first of all, let's look at Rob's past. He was molested as a kid from the early age of 8, from the tender age of 8 years old. That was never dealt with. So I mean, me and Rob sat down. I had to ask him some real tough questions about that, about who did it. How many times it was done. How often it happened. How long did it happen in your career, in your life?
Is his sister still alive that did it, or?
Yeah, Teresa's still alive. Matter of fact, she lives in a house that he bought for. Um, and for somebody to not realize that Rob was targeted, by the people who handled his career. I mean, it's like you don't go, if you care about somebody, they got a drug problem, you don't keep putting drugs into them and pushing them on the stage to make money because you know that the drugs are a distraction. Rob does need help. He will admit that. He actually said that, and I didn't say that without him saying it first. I mean, he had agreed to taking some, going over out of the country and doing some therapy and things of that nature. Right, when we were talking, because and everybody knows my mom worked with him, and my mom, he trusted her. They had a spiritual relationship that she would read all of his contracts and stuff like that to him, and they would talk and laugh. And they had a relationship to me and him. Me and him, we had to, it's like the guy that's asking you the tough question. I don't care if he doesn't like me. Just answer the question, Rob, because we got to get this done.
So what do you think what did he say that he needed help for? Like, if he's saying like, well, I need help. What does he need help for?
It's attachments. I mean, anybody who's been through something like that needs to get it out. And it wasn't my responsibility or job to get it out of him. I had to ask the questions. And then when he started facing the reality of this is really causing some issues, he came to grips with that. It wasn't, and he realized also how many people had, used his troubled past to bury him in the studio while they handled his assets. So with him going into the studio, him operating at night, sort of like Bruce Wayne, Batman, the Knight Rider, or whatever, the Black Knight or whatever. That was all done because it was a lot of things he didn't want to face. The dark glasses every time, stand behind him. Rob did a lot of things that was like, what are you hiding from? So when he said that himself, it wasn't me saying that he needed it. It was him saying it. And maybe I didn't put it as delicately as he did because I'm just not going to do it that way. But that's what he said. I mean, I need therapy, man. It's like, it's time for me to get past this shit. And the way he explained it was like, man, I had one thing that happened. He said it was like getting the cut. He said, you get.
So he was pretty much saying that he needed therapy to heal from his past, not necessarily anything that he's done or alleged to have done to anybody else. It was more so, I haven't gotten over what happened to me. This is what I need help for.
Rob he sang many songs about being trapped in the closet, and that's really what it was. I mean, the closet was where he went to hide from his sister a lot of times. And like he said, he got cut as a kid, and when you have people around you that care about you, you get a cut, they'll take you home, they put some Mercuric on it, some whatever on it, and they bandage it up, and it has time to heal. What happened to Rob was he got cut, and they threw him out in the ocean with all the sharks, and they all start coming at him. I mean, so he's never had the time that it needed to heal. He's been on top for 35 years. When did he ever come down to heal? I mean, and there's so many things that the normal people don't understand that these celebrities have to go through on a daily basis. It's like, people think that it's just that easy to wake up and be something different when normal people can't even do that. I mean, it's people in bad relationships right now that's going through things because of the first relationship they had. So, he does need, to sit down and talk to somebody and come to his own peace with what happened. And I think once that happens, you'll see a creative side of him that's way more passionate and deeper than what we've even seen. And that's hard to imagine with somebody like R. Kelly, but he was not in the dark on things that went down, and he operated the way he operated seemed elusive. But the fact of the matter is, when you get older, you get wiser. I mean, things mean more to you as an older person than it did as a younger person. So you just got to realize he came into that time in his life where he felt like, man, shit, this stigma is following me around too damn long, and there's some truth to it. I got to go get some help. Period. I need to talk to some people. I'm not gonna do it in this country though. The problem was,
okay. Okay, so a lot of people want to know about Rashana. When you had talked out to the news media, you said the thing about him being hypersexual and that he needed help or whatever. And then there was talks about the tape and then whether it exists or didn't exist. And I think you said that there were tapes that did exist. Is that what you said?
So the media will cut off certain parts to fit within. If they got a 15-second, 30-second, or 90-second element, they cut off certain things. So
Okay.
yeah, tapes did exist. He had a ton of tapes, but what they don't I didn't say that the tape of Rashana existed. I know exactly who the person is in that tape. I mean, we've got proof of that. You know, certain things that happened were staged to set him up, and we know who actually staged it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but what happened was back in those days, I don't, and that's why I made a reference. They did say this when, what back when in those days, it wasn't iPhones, it wasn't the internet, it wasn't all these things that we have now. You couldn't go live. So
Mm-hmm.
Mike Tyson went to jail for what? Because he couldn't prove what happened in the room, and they took Robin Givens' word over his, and he ended up losing half of his professional career because of that. There are a lot of celebrities who are targeted, and they lose their careers because of because of they can't prove what happened in the room. So Rob, basically was advised to record your sex sessions. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Rob being the guy that he is, he gonna say I'm recording this so I can have consent captured. No, he made it a porno. Shit, what woman don't want to be in a porno with R. Kelly? I mean, it's a lot of them that want to be in those things. So he made
Were
it.
there was Rashonda one of the girls that was in there or whatever? Was there underage girls or whatever?
The story about Rashana is so it's tragic. I mean, that was all a plant from the very fucking beginning. Sparkle, which is Stephanie Edwards, Rashana's mom, and all those guys. That was a plant from the beginning. I mean, and Rashana is not who everybody thinks she's not. That's not her parents. There's a story behind that. That's actually Sparkle's daughter, and Earl from Public Announcement, who was the group Rush.
Wait. You're saying that Rashana Lamphere is Sparkle's daughter?
Well, when she went off and got her career as a musician, she had a child, and her family raised a child, and that was her sister and brother-in-law that raised a child, and that's Lashana.
Okay. Huh?
It's there. The evidence of that's there.
So you're saying that Rashana is Sparkle's daughter. That's what you're saying, though, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And okay, so
there's a person, and a lot of folks have interviewed. Her name is Sharon Winbush. She was Rob's actual in-house nutritionist, and she spoke very eloquently about how they targeted Rob, how the whole Lashana thing was a setup, and just like a lot of these young girls, they fast. I mean, just think about it. When you was in high school, the freshman girl dating the varsity basketball player, you was the shit. I mean, the guy come pick you up in the car, you're a freshman, the shit. I mean, so back in those days and that age, that wasn't looked at as a bad thing for younger girls to date older guys. Matter of fact, some women and parents preferred it that way because they at least knew that the older guy could take care of the girl. I mean,
hit the like button, you guys.
So there's a serious backstory to the Lashana thing that that in the first case came out, and it's all part of the discovery when he went on the first trial that came out, which is why he was acquitted. He didn't get acquitted because those lawyers didn't do as thorough of a job at putting all this evidence out. Now, I've seen some of the discovery from the first case, and this is how I know a lot of these things. When Sam Adam Jackson and Gleason represented him.
Mm-hmm. So that was her on the tape?
Yeah, that was, was that Lashana on the tape?
Rashonda, yeah, was that her?
I mean, yeah, it looks like her. I mean, I wasn't in the room. I didn't hold the video camera, so I can't say for sure. I mean, right now, I could take your face and put it on that tape and say it was you. I mean, that's just how technology works. So I didn't film that. I mean, based on the discovery and how he won the case, they painted a different picture. And the picture was that wasn't him in the tape. So if it wasn't him in the tape, how do we know that it was her in the tape? So I'm not going to go down that path with arguing that because I didn't really do a thorough investigation into it. I glanced at some of the discovery and I'm like, okay, well, they did a good job of defending this. All they need is this paperwork again. And if her parents said it wasn't her parents said it wasn't her, then they should be on trial too because they lied under oath. Period.
Okay, is she okay? Because there was allegations that she was like putting money on his book. She was like one of his current girlfriends, still in communication with him. And then you had people who say that she was talking to the feds now, and she's a part of this new case, and she's talking like which part of that is true?
I don't know the daily activity of who's talking. It's Homeland Security, which is a part of the federal the bureaucracy. But Homeland Security is who's bringing these charges up against Rob. He's not under investigation by the FBI at all. So whether she's talking, of course they're going to try to get her to say something because they're building a case. Whether she's going to participate, I don't know. I haven't seen. The judge put a blanket over the federal judge put a blanket over the case so nobody's able to talk about um, um, the potential witnesses. But if her name is being mentioned, chances are she's not a major part to their case. Because the names that are not being mentioned, the ones that handled his career, is who people need to be focused in on. And a lot of people don't know those names because they don't know who his managers, his accountants, his handlers, and all that stuff was back in the case. But if Lashana's name is being mentioned, that's smoke and mirrors. They want you to focus on Lashana. They want you to focus on Johanna. They want you to focus on all these other girls that really he'll beat those cases hands down.
Okay. Okay, so there are people who said that they were related to him recently. There was a guy, I think his name was like Levi, and then he said that he was his cousin. And then there are women who are saying that they are his sisters. Is there any relation to him to a guy named Levi or to the girl, the two ladies that their last name ends with Kelly?
Well, I researched Rob's entire history back to Ireland, and I didn't see none of their names. I know who Rob's his brothers and sisters were, and I know didn't see their names on the family tree. I know who his mother and his father was, and I didn't see their names in any obituaries. So maybe I mean, it's like right now, Rob called me his cousin. I ain't his cousin. He called my mom his aunt. She ain't his aunt. So Rob called everybody. I mean, people were cousin and aunt. That's something that everybody wants to be related to a celebrity. But as far as them coming out now that he's going to see, the difference is Rob is locked up, and it's pretty evident that he may not get a bail until this thing is. He's not going to get a bail. That's pretty evident. And so for them to come out when he doesn't have a bail makes no sense. They didn't come out in the first case. They weren't his sisters back then. This ain't his first go around with the law. So all these cousins and that are now self-proclaiming themselves his cousins so they can get some extra attention or whatever be the case, whatever. But as far as my research, I have not seen the Cassandra nor Lisa as related to R. Kelly, to Robert Sylvester Kelly.
Okay. So with this whole Shabazz documentary, there is a new girl by the name of Jasmine who is saying that she was around the time of May last year, and supposedly she hooked up with him, or somebody gave somebody oral. Do you know who that girl is? Do you know anything about that?
Jasmine is a liar. Jasmine, her name is Jasmine Johnson. That's Johanna Pace's sister. Period. Do the research. That's Johanna Pace's. Actually, it's Johanna Johnson. Is her maiden name, but that's her sister. Her name was Star, and we've got proof of all of that. They changed the story from he raped her because she shows up at the court. The same thing Johanna did. She got put in the bus by one of these frenemies that Rob had. He signed her some papers. He took some pictures with us, and that was all that happened. He never touched her. Period. Same thing with Johanna. He never touched her. All this stuff there was a system created years ago. Barry Hankerson created that system. File a lawsuit when you pissed off, you get paid. But what happened was most of the girls never got all of the money. Rob had 19 lawsuits that we had researched, and anybody can do it right now. They can go Google R. Kelly criminal cases, and he's got the names are not fresh in my head right now, but it was ex-background singers, ex-background dancers, where people were just suing him for these stupid amounts of money. And they would all settle out of court. No police reports were ever filed. The girls would probably get 25% of the money, and his lawyers and managers and accountants would split the rest of the money. So so Jasmine came in for the same sake of getting the check. She was planted in there,
Mm-hmm.
did not have sex with him. And Jasmine knows. I mean, I was the one that had first contact with her when she came to meet him at the gym, and I ran. Listen, I got on her like, "What are you doing here?" She was standing outside the gym. It was pitch black. We had just finished playing basketball. I left early. She's standing out there in the cut. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
"I'm waiting for a Rob." And I'm like, "For what?" I was told to meet him. By who? And she, goes and says, "Somebody, hold on. You need to leave because first of all, this ain't a good look." She looked 16 to me, and I'm like, you need to get on up out of. Well, I'm kind of stuck. I'm like, well, what does it take to get you home? Well, I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any money. It's $170 or something. She said, I said, okay, fine. I'll take you to the mega bus. You're going home. No, can I at least just say bye to him or say hi to him? I'm like, no. So what happened was Bug, Rob's uncle, walked out at the time, and he said a few things to her and put her in Rob's. He was in a rental truck at the time, a rental van. Put her in the van, and I didn't understand that. I didn't know the Dana J element that existed inside what Dana had kind of promoted Jasmine or whatever to Rob as a diehard fan that flew in here to see him in his trial. So Rob wanted to meet her. So when Bud put
Mm-hmm.
on the inside of the bus, I was like, "What the fuck did you do that for?" And I'm like, "Dog, this is stupid." So I got in my car. Me and my brother were at the gym, and I got a call from Cash, the one that allegedly wrote the book. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "Don, I got. Are you at the gym?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Did you just get in your car?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I started looking around like, "Damn, where was she watching me?" It's like I'm on the phone with Jasmine. I'm like, "Jasmine, who is that?" She just got put in the bus and da da da. She said, "I'm like, saying what you talking about with her?" She's like, "I'm gonna conference you in. Just don't say nothing." So she conferenced me into the call, and she's in the van telling me, "I'm scared" and all this old shit. I'm like, "Oh wow." So I jump out,
Mm-hmm.
go in the studio, so Bud, get Rob. Rob walks over, not the studio, the gym. Get Rob. He walks over to the middle of the court. He was still playing. "Rob, you need to get rid of this bitch. It's a setup." What you talking
Mm-hmm.
about? I said, "Listen." No, and then in the conversation, Cash told me that she was sent by Azriel's father. He paid for her to get up there. I'm like, "Angelo." I said, "It's a setup." I said, "They out here, just setting you up, man." "How you know that?" I showed them the text messages that came from no, I said I'm on the phone with what's the name, and then I keep two phones as I do now, and I had recorded with one of my phones. You can't see. There you go. I
Mm-hmm.
recorded the conversation, so I let him hear it back. He was like, "Well, that don't say that she know Angelo." I said, "Rob," I said, "You can't chance any of this shit right now. You need to let her ass go." So he said, "Text the person on the other line, which was Cash, and ask her, does she work with Angelo?" And he said, "No, she doesn't. She works with Dana, who works with Angelo." And I'm like, I didn't know who the fuck Dana was, So later on, Dana J came out. So I'm like, I said, "Well, listen, man, I gave you the information. You're gonna keep her around you. I think it's stupid." And I went on by and I left. So months later, I'm hearing now she got raped and all this old shit, and I was like, unfucking believable.
Oh,
So
okay. All right. So there's two questions. One question, somebody said, would R. Kelly approve of him speaking on his behalf? It's all negative from you. You stole money from R. Kelly too. And then another person said, didn't R. Kelly fire you after speaking on him the first time he got out of jail?
no, well, first of all, I never stole anything from him. Anybody who's saying that is a piece of shit because that's like me saying you stole something from the person who said it. I've never
Mm-hmm.
stole anything from anybody. I have my own money, plenty of it. I don't need to steal. So that's that. And I'm going to dead that because whoever this person is, they go around from platform to platform saying the same thing. And I actually think it's Dana J, to be frank. But no, I never stole anything from him. As a matter of fact, I've spent close to $100,000 carrying them for a few months of my own. I'm sorry, my company's money, partially mine. Um, and then fire me? No, he did not. I thought that made sense to put that out as a rumor that I was fired because I had a brand that I was building that it was different from his, and that my shareholders were kind of concerned with all the negative press he was getting. So I said we need to put this out that I was fired. Had nothing to do with him firing me. Period. I mean, so if that was the case, why was I around him all of that time after that? It just don't make sense. I mean, so the rumors may be what they may. I don't give a damn about whoever that is sending that text message. I can come up with something about you right now, and I don't even know you. So just stop it, because none
Mm-hmm.
of what you're saying is helping him. The things that I'm saying are helping this man, helping to focus his fan base on the people who have him locked up right now. I'm not saying anything that jeopardize his freedom. I want people to really focus on the people, because what I've noticed was when fans dial in, they find evidence that that's needed. It's a lot of fans that have some really acute information that they've been sharing, and it's a lot of truth to it. So don't focus on me. Don't focus on Johanna. Focus on Daryl McDavid. Focus on Joan and Linda. These are the folks that stole the money and got him locked up. So cut it out with this $50,000 thing, Dana J, or one of your minions, and he fired me. No, he didn't. First of all, I just told you I was his consultant and advisor. If you look at the audio from that interview, I said it in there, consultant and advisor. The press made me his manager because they researched my credentials and saw that this dude is a heavy in the industry, so he could be the one that is managing him. So no, you hired somebody who you didn't hire, and you never paid me a check a day. So how did I get fired? So stop it. Anyway.
Right. Okay. Someone wanted to know if R. Kelly was with Dominique Gardner's mother.
I don't know that. I don't know that for a fact. I can't say that.
Okay. And then someone wanted to know, who is Vada Pinkett?
I don't know who that is either.
Tasha K had put out a video, and she said that there is a girl that was also one of his girlfriends. She alleged that the Vada girl was one of his girlfriends, and she allegedly had done something with an underage girl to like gain his loyalty or whatever. I don't know. That's what was alleged.
I'm gonna give y'all the math, and I'm giving you the math for one reason. Stop taking so much to heart that a handful of women. When he was on Gayle King and Gayle King, and she said, "What if all these women are coming forward?" And that's what all the media that's attempting to destroy him and his brand. And the reason behind that is something that nobody's thinking about. But they've all said all these women, Vada, whoever, let's say it's 50 women. Let's bump it up to 75. 75 women are making all these accusations about Rob. And I said because the producer for Lifetime,
I don't think that the Vada girl made any accusations. This was Tasha K had came out with an exclusive, and she said that she got information from a source, and the source said that Vada was a girlfriend and had to do something to initiate. And she said that like any girl who gets with him has to prove her loyalty and do something and get it recorded to prove their loyalty. But Vada herself, I haven't seen that she spoke out. It was just somebody speaking, saying that they got information about her.
Tasha K works with Azriel Clary. I'm sorry, Angelo Clary. So believing anything that comes from her or anything she puts out is all a part of the smoke and mirrors that people want all of the viewers dialed into, and not the real people that we should be paying attention to right now and exposing for who they are. Because every last one of the people that I mentioned have a history of creating these type of situations for other artists, but nobody's focusing on them. Why are you focusing on just Vada? Is she keeping Rob locked up? No, she's not. You know what I mean? Why are you focusing on Johanna? She's not keeping him locked up. Who's keeping him locked up is Barry Hankerson, is Daryl McDavid, Cheryl, Linda, Joan, Artie, all these folks that stole from him, that put this stuff out there, that Homeland Security is now turning into a criminal enterprise, that he was the mastermind, like Peaky in the brain behind this criminal enterprise when he was not. So Vada, why would I investigate her? She's a non-factor. And a lot of these girls are non-factors. So no, I wouldn't waste time investigating about it. I don't know anything about it. I've never heard of her until now. And I definitely don't listen to Tasha K.
Okay. That was one of the questions here. Do you know who the girl Kimberly is? When Joycelyn went to go retrieve R. Kelly's things, Azriel said, the girl Kimberly had came up first. Joycelyn had gave her the keys. She was supposed to have been like a handler, according to Azriel, somebody who takes care of his things. Do you know who Kimberly is?
I don't like the word handler. I mean, any celebrity that has a girlfriend or girlfriends that live within his domain have people that chaperone them around. They're not from Chicago, and they don't. They, you know, what I mean, if they're going downtown to park, which parking is almost impossible, and they want to get out and go in Neiman Marcus or whatever Bloomingdale, she drops them off. They go shop, and she'll wait down there with them, or maybe she'll go up and pay for it. But that's not a handler. I mean, you can call it so many other things, but I mean, handler is the wrong word for it. It's more like a chaperone, you know, maybe a valet or something. I don't know, but
like a
handler,
Uber driver type of thing.
yeah. I mean, so you got to realize he's the king of R&B. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and his girls are targets. So you want someone who knows the city and the streets that's paying attention to the surroundings. And Joy and Azrael ain't paying. They're looking at dresses. So someone has to be there to make sure ain't nobody looking at them looking at dresses. You know what I mean, so it's not a handler. I mean, Kimberly was somebody that took the girls around. She drove them around to take whatever they wanted to go shopping or whatever be the case and things of that nature. And there's nothing
So
wrong.
Azriel does know her because on her live she said that she did not know who she was.
Well, of course, Azriel saying all type of negative stuff in lives after she's been flipped, I guess, converted to the other side. I mean, I wouldn't believe much of anything that Azriel said. Whoever believes anything that comes out of her mouth going forward, it's like, whose side are you on? Because she's already shown she ain't on Robert Sylvester Kelly's side anymore. She wouldn't be saying some of the things she's saying.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Everybody watching right now, hit the like button. Hit the like button if you have not already. I see a lot of people on the chat. Somebody said Angelo is live right now. Angelo puts my information out for doing my job, conducting an interview or anything like that, meaning a blogger. If he puts out my personal information, docs any of my information, I will be taking legal action. He already put out my information, my mom, tried to, put out my mom information, my baby, tried to, put out my car and all this kind of stuff. So for me, simply conducting an interview, he could talk all the shit that he wants. I really don't care. I'm doing my job as a blogger because there are a lot of questions that people want to know. And if there is somebody who works closely with R. Kelly and I can interview them, I'm going to interview them. And I don't know what is being said, but that is just my message to Angelo, his friend, Larry, or anybody else. You put my information out again, then we will be taking legal action. And the money that you're trying to get, I will be getting it, period.
Let me to address that too. And I've said this in the past. Angelo, you have an agenda, and all of you guys have an agenda, and you're going hard for your agenda. I mean, if you look at that in the game, I mean, you're trying to win, but this side has an agenda too. And we're going to go just as equally hard to establish our agenda. I mean, and that's really what it is. So don't get mad because somebody has found out truth that we're exposing. I mean, your game, your truth is yours, ours is ours. So we have to speak back. And when you think we're going to sit back and be quiet while you wrongfully, while you use the media to manipulate, public opinion? No, man, come on. So cut that out of getting on here thinking that your word is all people need to hear, and that's just the so all be all. That's not gonna happen like that, dude. Respect the fact that people have differences of opinion. People do research, just like you dove in and did all the research to pull this shit and shenanigans that you're doing. And me and Angelo have had man-to-man conversations. I've talked to him when we were negotiating, trying to get him in with the daughter and him and with his daughter around Christmas time. And for a half a second, he seemed like a reasonable person. But he's got this hidden hatred for Rob that it's like, dude, like, if you and your daughter had that kind of relationship, why is she calling that? If y'all had a loving relationship, she would be cutting corners to get in touch with you, whether it's sending messages on a bird's ankle or whatever it was, Morse code. She would have been reaching out to that man. So
well, according to the documentary, there was a snippet that came out, and it said that she was in communication with her family.
Her mother. Her mother's in a whole bunch of videos walking around, going shopping and doing all that kind of stuff. He was left out. And that's the problem. He's revengeful right now because he wasn't included in any of that. So that's that.
There was a donation somebody sent in to ask a question. It went away while you were talking and I can't get it, but it says something along the lines of, do you have children and would your opinion be different in regards to if you had children or something like that? I'm going off the top. I'm sorry. I should have a pen and write it down because it goes away after a while.
But that could very well be Joycelyn because inboxed me the same question. Anybody? I do have a son. I've got a son.
It says something about somebody being raped or something.
What about him?
I don't know. I'm just going off memory because while you were talking, it was up there. Then it went away. I can't go back to it.
About somebody being raped. I don't know nothing about a rape. So I mean, whatever.
Okay. Do you? But you do have a son.
Yeah. 11.
Oh, okay. He said he's. Oh, somebody's writing me saying Angelo's mad about his wife being brought up. He said, tell Don to call him with you. He said he want cash, but we know that wait, what?
Probably just text me.
Oh, I don't know. Anyways, so if there are any more questions, let me know. But again, like I said, I'm not moved by Angelo's threats. He don't run my platform. He don't care what is being put out as long as it's with his narrative. If you follow his narrative, then he'll be your best friend. And he may mention that he needed, he couldn't wait till, Tasha K was done with whatever she was working on so that she could put out whatever he got himself working on. He can't run my platform. I don't go with his narrative. I don't go with anybody's narrative. I'm not on anybody's side. I go with what's the truth. I gave Angelo an opportunity to interview on my platform. I told him if he wanted to interview, he could. I gave Dominique Gardner mother an opportunity. I gave Tim Savage an opportunity. I gave Jonjolin an opportunity to interview on my platform. I reached out to all of them. So if they wanted to have something to say, have an opinion about anything, I've always been open to correction. If anybody wanted to, correct anything that I've said or, add anything extra clarity to it, they did not do that. He declined. He wanted to only talk to Tasha K. I really don't care about the shit that he's talking now because I'm not on nobody's side. I gave them an opportunity to speak, just like I'm giving Don Russell an opportunity to speak. Anybody in close proximity with the situation has always been invited on my platform. But Angelo, he likes to only talk to people who he can go with his narrative. And that's just that on that. And like I said, for me doing my job, if he puts out my information or has any fake pages come up, because I've already got the documents or the threats documented, we will be taking legal action, and that's that on that.
And I'll add to one part of that what you're saying. And listen, I didn't ask you anything about what questions you would be posing to me this evening. So this is all
you did not. Yeah, we didn't even have a conversation about it.
And I got people that handle my business like that. Why don't you find out? I'm like, I don't care what she asked. I'm telling the truth. I mean, and you don't have to stack weight on or be prepared to tell the truth. You just know what it is. It is what it is. I mean, so as far as Angelo Clary is going, listen, man, you keep doing whatever you're doing. Just I'm not fighting a battle against you. Period. There's nothing that you can ever do to interrupt my flow because everything that I'm doing is still flowing and it's not going to stop because of your opinion and how you feel about whatever. This is the other side that needs to be told. Period. It's going to come out one day, sooner or later. You can't, so you might as well get prepared for it because when it does come out, you may have some negative, reactions, some things that happen to you. And I'm not talking about from me. I'm talking about just law. I mean, they're investigating this thing and they're seeing some of the stuff that you out here doing with Avenatti and Daryl Johnson and all these guys that you're planting in and all of the laws that you're breaking to incriminate this man because of your own personal revenge vendetta against him for probably. And I'm going to say, listen, I'm not going to disrespect your wife because when I found out I had got her arrested, I apologized to her because I didn't know that was your wife. But
wait, hold up, wait. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you this before it disappears, and then we're gonna get into that. So you can fit. Okay, so someone said, I asked, would it be different if Don had an underage daughter being raped by R. Kelly? Minors can't consent to sex with adults, so legally that's rape. That's what DP Johnson said.
It's a stupid question. Rob would not rape my underage daughter. Rob's been around my son, and they had the best relationship, period. I got pictures of them together, hanging out, chilling, whatever. Rob has goddaughters and all. He's a human being. Stop saying that stuff. He didn't rape anybody. You were not in the room. So stop making it seem as if you were in the room when you actually witnessed this happen. We are going off some very evil people in media that want to bring down him because of who he is as a person. He controls a lot of numbers. He makes babies with his music. It's a whole bunch of things. If that were your son being attacked, you probably look at this thing different. So why don't you reverse the question and say, if R. Kelly was your son, or you had a son that was the king of R&B and he was being attacked by these groupies and stuff the way he is, how would you feel? So you answer that question and then I'll answer yours. Simple. Next question.
Okay. Kodak, are you still on the live? No, he's off. Because somebody else said they sent in a super chat. I didn't see it. So I was just gonna say, like, if somebody sends in a super chat question, if you could text it to my phone so that it'll be there. Okay, yeah, because I didn't see. Okay, so back to Angelo, and you said that you got his wife arrested.
So it was the last tour that Rob went on. Lifetime booked that tour. They booked the tour because they wanted to have footage of declining ticket sales. That's when he went from Arizona to, it wasn't the Arizona. Arizona was a legitimate production, but it's a legitimate show. But he went from the Arizona to, I think it was Texas, it was Florida, it was Mississippi, and then back to Chicago. And I was on that tour. I actually drove his backline truck around because, yeah, that's a whole other story. But anyway, I had to put the credit card up for it. When I arrived at the first venue and I saw the bill and they didn't know that they thought I was just a truck driver, because typically what happens is the manager will hire a trucking company to cart the backline around. But this is nothing but fate, and that's how the universe works. So because of the credit card that John Holder put up bounced before he had to leave out, I ended up having to fly in and put my credit card up for the truck to go from place to place to place. Now, I didn't want to do that, but then no damn body else have valid driver's license. So I said, forget it. I'll drive the truck and I'll make sure to get there. And as a matter of fact, it was in my credit card in my name anyway, so I wasn't going to trust nobody with that responsibility. So I drove it around, and when we got to the first place, Texas, part of what was supposed to happen was when I arrived there, the box office would pay me my fee, which was whatever that fee arrangement was for a backline being transported to each show. But because of the contract that Mason signed, it was an all-in deal, so they didn't cover that. But what I did get was the bill for the show, the production bill, and at the top of it, it was Lifetime. I said, Rob, I said that the three other people that booked concerts first, and I said, why would Lifetime's name be right here? And they said, well, that's who's booking the show. I'm like, why is Lifetime booking his concert? So when we got to the bottom of it, and Cash actually helped me get to the bottom of that, they were attempting to get footage of fans turning against them, empty venues with empty seats in it. This was all a part of the show that they wanted to put out there. And Lyric was a part of that as well, because actually what happened was we were behind the stage. The show was going on. I'm on the stage at the back. Joycelyn and Azriel came and they sat on the stage. It's this lady standing in front of me, but that wasn't unusual because there was a ton of ladies that would always be invited onto the stage for the show. And a commotion started. So I looked this way. Next thing I know, she darted out for Rob. And
who did?
Azriel's mom. So I didn't know who she was. And I meant to do more of a drama with that by saying this undisclosed lady. But she ended up darting out towards Rob.
When was this? When Azriel was with him? When was this?
They were on the stage. This was in Texas. We were doing the show. Keisha Cole opened up for him or whatever. So she darted out towards him, and security grabbed them, and everybody, a couple of ladies on stage, they escorted them out, and it was a big commotion where the show stopped and all this stuff. And I'm looking at Rob, and Rob is backstage. He's a little pissed, like, what the fuck going on? Da, 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 da. And he I zeroed in on the women. He said, "What are the women that was on the stage?" Because he sang to them in the show. And one of Rob's sound guys said, "Well, the police escorted the security, escorted them out." And he was like, "Go get them. Those are fans. Why would you do that?" So I followed them. And when I got out front, it was a whole production. It was the Lifetime banners. It was Lyric was there. They had cameras, and this lady was sitting down doing a police report saying that Rob attacked her, and he had attacked on stage and hit her and all this stuff. And I intervened, like, no, he didn't. You're a lie. You attacked him on stage. And fortunately, one of the women that had got put out out of the off the stage was out there as well. So she dived in and said, "Yeah, you ran after him. We saw you." So the police said, "Okay, well, we have to go in and get a statement from Rob." So I texted him to Rob the police in to do a statement. He said, "I can't do a statement against my." I said, "Well, the lady that attacked you, the police want to question you. Otherwise, they're gonna come in here and arrest you." And that's what they wanted. They wanted him to be escorted out of there in handcuffs. So he said, "I can't do it because that's my daughter, my girl's mama." I'm like, wow, okay. So I'm like, okay, this is crazy as hell, whatever's going on here. But so she had got arrested that night. Her and her son both got arrested that night. The question was always, how the hell did they get on the stage? I mean, because certain people give out those tickets and those credentials to get on the stage. So that was kind of weird. But anyway, of course, if Lifetime booked it, they wouldn't have had to have a credential. They would have known to let them in. So anyway, when they came to Angelo and me had a couple conversations.
Can you get my charger to my laptop? I think it's next to my bed. Go ahead.
We had a couple conversations, and he explained to me I got his wife arrested, and I was like, man, I did not know that was, when I was in the process of that, I didn't know that was your wife, and I didn't know that whatever, you know what I mean. So when they came to Chicago, I went over to her at the court appearance and said, "Listen, I apologize. I didn't know that you was Azriel's mom, for getting you arrested that day." I said, "But I responded, and I apologize for." So that's what happened with that.
Oh, okay. So she was trying to get to Azriel or something?
No, they wanted the whole objective was to get Rob arrested and have him carted out of there in handcuffs.
Somebody said, Don Angelo said, tell the truth about pulling money out of R. Kelly bank account and having your name on it.
I had my name on R. Kelly's bank account. Okay. Anyway, next question. I'm not going to answer nothing as stupid as that.
Here, can you plug this in? Sorry. You look, you falling asleep. Okay. Let's see. Thank you for the donation.
Let me say one thing. So what happened was this. I did take Rob to a private bank, which was the same bank that my company bank with to open one up, because what happened was John Holden them had people at Bank of America, every place that Rob banked, somehow they was getting access to his accounts. So I said, okay, we got to pull you out of these mainstream banks because it's not difficult to have somebody locally and wherever he was access his account through his social security number. So I put him over at a private bank and they kept eyes on his account. Now, what would happen sometimes was when Rob needed money, he would call the bank, send him an email and a text. He had a banker that handled his account and say, listen, I need $50,000, I need $20,000. And they would cut a cashier's check out to him or give him cash in an envelope. And I would send somebody over there to pick it up if I didn't go pick it up myself and gave it directly to him.
Oh, okay.
And actually, most of the time it was my mom that did that. She would pick that stuff up and take it to her.
Okay, let me see if there are any more questions and then we could wrap it up. You've answered a lot and maybe we could do a part 2 if there is anything else. Ooh, shoot. Ooh, bless me. Okay, let me see if there's any. Hit the like button, you guys. Make sure to share this live as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have 2,300 people viewing this live right now. So, the way that it helps me out is to like it, share it, comment on it, and let me see about any more questions. And then we will, wrap this up. Somebody says, why does he care about his money? He needs to worry about his daughter. Right. I mean,
she done been more documentaries than she done seen psychiatrists that she needs to see after what they say allegedly happened to her.
Yeah. So let's see if there's any more questions and then we will wrap it up. We've already gone over the Aaliyah marriage. Somebody asked about Bubba. Sorry, they sent in a donation and asked that too. I'm sorry, I just realized. Somebody wanted to know who is Bubba. That's all they says. Who is Bubba?
He was just one of his cronies. That's all. One of his side guys. I mean, Bubba had his own business of a tattoo shop. He worked with Rob as one of his, this guy, one of his friends. I mean, we got cigars for him. They hung out. They drank together. It was nothing sexual ever. Rob is not that guy. He likes women. He's not.
Hold on, wait, pause. Don't promote anybody else's YouTube channel on my page, I will block you. I'm glancing at some of the chats. Don't put nobody else's promote anybody's channel. Don't nobody else promote me on their page. I get it on my own. So don't come over here promote nobody, because anytime I see anybody else live, I don't see none of y'all promoting me or me being promoted on anybody else's platform. I hustle and bustle by myself. So please do not promote anybody else in my chat. You will be blocked.
And
Anyways,
the professional way of putting that is you don't go on CBS and see them promoting Channel 5.
Pretty much, period. Okay, so somebody said if Robert's legal representation is no good, why won't he hire someone new?
Well, it's several things. That's not necessarily true. Rob does want new legal help, but what the exact words to that outside of Trump, he said, man, it's like you got somebody, and he was speaking about Greenberg, and you just robbed the fucking bank, and then when you jump in the getaway car, and all of a sudden the getaway driver start talking shit, stupid, like he finna pull something. You sitting behind him like, one should you shoot him in the head or what? So in essence, what that bit was, whatever him and Greenberg have, and whatever they share, whatever their arrangement was, he was worried about if he fired him, because this is what he said to the other attorneys that he interviewed. What if he goes out and starts talking negative about me? And Rob is so used to whenever, just look at what these women are doing. Whenever somebody breaks bad, they start talking bad about him. I mean, so that was the biggest thing too. He ain't got no money. I mean, like, everything that we tried to accomplish to bring some money in to pay some of these guys for research and all this kind of stuff. Where's it at? I mean, they got liens on all of his stuff. His baby mama taking child support. I mean, where's the money? He don't have the money to hire a legal team like he had the last time. He borrowed the money from Sony when he was with Sony. He doesn't have Sony no more. So where's he gonna get the money from?
Oh, okay. Somebody said Vada did speak out, aka Vanice, on video. Haley was in the car and Cassius Dallas. It was on video. Okay, that was Vada that was in that video. I remember some girl. Okay, so I didn't know about that. Okay, so maybe she did speak out. Somebody said, how is Joycelyn? I think you mentioned Joycelyn. Another person wanted to know about Latoya. Latoya is also another girl. She said she had a SunTrust account in his name. She has sat down with Azriel in that documentary. Do you know anything about Latoya?
I mean, I wouldn't tell anybody that there was an account in his name, because that, first of all, there's a lien against any account that has his name on it right now, and that's because of his ex-landlords sued him for the balance of the money that was owed at the studio that he should not have owed anyway. So that's a lie. It's done that.
Does he know her?
I don't know. I wasn't around whenever they met, so she's a non-factor. I mean, she's not causing him to be locked up, so I don't know whether he knows. He knows a gazillion women. I mean, so.
Do you know who the Jane Does are in the situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's LaShonda. That's LaShonda. I think one of them is Latoya Hall, LT, Faith Rogers, Jahunda Pace. So those are the four right there.
Okay, so Faith Rogers. Who did you say?
I think I'm not looking at notes right now, but one of them was the same. She sent the lawsuit in.
Is Azriel, because people were saying that Azriel was Jane Doe number 4. Well, is Azriel a part of it?
Azriel's case is so totally different. Azriel's case is what Avenatti was representing, but of course he can't do that anymore. But no, that was a totally different, because at first they didn't have Azriel. So now that they have her, and it's like I was explaining to somebody, so what? I mean, they can't. They already accused him of whatever, and said it's facing 136 years. Azriel was winning when these things happen. So now adding her to it doesn't really matter, because what, they're going to tag on 10 more years to 136 that they're trying to put on him. So it really doesn't matter whether Azriel is a part of it or not. She's not a difference maker. The accusations were placed on him before Azriel broke bad.
Okay, how do you feel about Drea Kelly?
I have no feeling or emotion towards her at all, but I know truths about Drea that she just needs to back down, because it don't even make sense. Some of the stuff that she's went through with him, the whole situation with the child, and she almost got locked up by child services, and he didn't allow that to happen to us. And the fact that man, how many times I went to Rob and said, Rob, your child support needs to be reduced. The law states 20% of your earnings. You're not making any money. she's actually making more money than he was at one point. Why are you still paying? And then two of the kids are over 18, and he would not allow us to get his child support reduced. I mean, so the fact that this man never, I mean, you got to realize those kids 18, he's never once abandoned his, role as paying child support. Andrea's pissed off because there was a reality show that she had the opportunity to film when she lost Cougar Queens, reality show that she was in. Her horrible behavior is why the show got canned, and her mismanagement of funds is why it got canceled. And they gave an opportunity to rehash it, but they wanted Rob in it. And he chose not to be in it because he's like, I'm not going to go on camera and act like we're together. We're not together. So that's when she started all of a sudden jumping out there and jumping on the other side, because she wasn't originally a part of it. But she came in like she was the head diva, and he wasn't paying child support, so she got all these expensive. She didn't lean out in life, so now she needs to make money. So joining the other side was the same thing that all the rest of them are doing right now because it paid better.
Okay, somebody said, can Rob sue his former publicist?
Hell yeah, he should. I mean, that was Angelo Clary who put him in there as well. I mean,
so you're saying Angelo Clary sent him in?
Daryl? Yeah, Daryl Johnson was sent by Angelo Clary.
Oh, okay. Somebody said, what about money from defense fund for a lawyer?
Hey, I have nothing to do or nothing. I mean, I don't know. Everybody belongs to the defense fund to come up at Rob's expense. We have some methods of people that there are people that want to contribute, because if this lawsuit, if everything goes in the wrong direction, then this sets back a lot of people. I mean, particularly women. I mean, Black women, because it'd be people think twice about bringing them on board, hiring them. It's not a celebrity right now that's not shaking in their boots, because how many of them that they let in the room, sat on their laps, got pictures. So you can bring down a star from your hood. So so there are a lot of people that want to contribute. They may not necessarily like Rob or care for him or a fan or whatever, but a lot of folks out there fighting for freedom, and they may not even know Martin Luther King or whoever be the case. They just fought for freedom because they wanted to be free. And that's essentially what's going on right now. It's a lot of celebrities and people in high places that are concerned about the outcome of this case, and they will kick in. They just want to do it anonymously. So, but the first thing is they don't support his legal team. They don't think that those guys have the capacity to get him adjudicated, or to properly adjudicate this case so he can be exonerated.
Oh, okay. All right. And then there was another question. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. It was one after that. Sorry. It's a lot of questions in here. I was trying to get to the super chats. Somebody said, why at one time he was talking to Savage and the Clarys if he's for Kels?
Who?
You, I guess.
Why was I talking to him?
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, come on, fellas. Let's stop it. Rob did not want this to be the way it was. We attempted to negotiate peace treaties or whatever you want to call them to get everybody amicably together. But every time that happened, Savage or Clary would just nut up. Oh, we'll have him produce a record for him. We'll say that. It was always them trying to engage in some kind of business with him. And, just like, part of what happened with Mason, who was his past attorney, I'm not going to speak anything, about Mason because he's a horrible person to me. I met him and I don't like him. And I saw him, forging contracts and all that kind of stuff on Rob's behalf. Not for him, but, without his permission. And as part of what we were doing, everybody was trying to avoid this thing that was on my team. So sitting down trying to talk to the other side to get them to come up with an amicable solution, why wouldn't I engage in that? And the only person we can do that with is Clary and Tim. I mean, so yeah, I had several conversations with them trying to get them to back down. Have you listened to one of the audios that was released by myself and I think Cash released it later? That was me on the phone with him trying to back him down and say you love your daughter and all. Tasha released it without giving me props. Another blogger released it and they played the whole thing.
Daytime, tea time.
Yeah, Candace, that's right. Right. I love Candace. She's a great person. She stays in the middle just like you do. So the bottom line was, I was attempting to negotiate a peace treaty, a truce, but they were getting paid to create this distraction. And it's like, it always fell apart. I mean, so that was part of what my responsibility was coming in as his consultant and an advisor to figure out how we can get up out of all this muddy water and back out into the clean sea so we can sail. But if you got somebody that's fueling they shit off of the negativity, it's never gonna work. So yeah, I talked to Tim, I talked to Angelo. It was business to me, and it's still business. I don't have anything against any one of them personally. I don't like what they did to my friend. I mean, but you know what I mean? Before any war starts, both sides talk. They have a sit down and they decide at that point, you know, we're going to war because we can't come up with a solution. And that's essentially what happened. They went to war because we couldn't come up with a solution to get them together where they can benefit off of our side. It's like, okay, if we're gonna do this, then he got to do a record on it. Or he got to do something we can take it and make money off of. Or he got to do this deal with us on this, and another. And it's like, is this about y'all daughters or is this about making money? And it was always about making money, and we couldn't present a solution that meant they would get paid in full. They went to the other side and they kept going on the other side. Real simple.
Okay. All righty. Well, the last question, I guess I'll ask you. There's so many. So if you're up to a part 2, maybe we can do that. But I don't want to hold you all night. The last question is, the last time you talked to R. Kelly, what was his mental state? How is he holding up? And how is he doing throughout all of this?
Three-part answer to that. And the first one I'll say is the last time I heard from Rob, he wasn't doing too well. He just heard the information about Azriel. No, that's not the last time. The last time was a couple of days ago, and that was a real positive exchange of information of how he's feeling about certain things. But the situation with Azriel really hurt him because you got to realize what he's going through partially is because of him not kicking her to the curb, not just dropping off. I mean, he stuck with her and Joycelyn, you know, and to show that he wasn't a monster. He wasn't somebody that just takes women in, chews them up, and spits them out. So of course he's heartbroken because he's got to sit up in there by himself on a decision that he made. Period. There's a part of Rob right now that's in that's healing, ethnic cleansing or healing, whatever you want to call it, which he needs that. I mean, Rob had a lot of parasites around him, and he couldn't escape those parasites because they had invested their energies into sucking off of his energy source. And now that he's where he is, they can't feed off of him no more. They can't suck him dry. So that cleansing that he needs to sit down and make his peace with himself and with God, and he's getting the opportunity to do that. And anybody that has done as much as he has, they need that opportunity in life. We just hate to see it come at that expense, but he's playing basketball in there. You know, the guys in there, they got news stories that they hear from the king of R&B. Some of those guys are going home saying, oh man, we were chilling. I mean, so that's the part that I would like to think that, you know, he's in there. And Rob was one of those guys that liked to stay around his guys.